So within that, we also understand that landlords can no longer refuse pets without a valid reason. What is considered a valid reason? And without one, can tenants have a pet at any time during their tenancy?
Yeah, so the new Renters' Rights Act provides that tenants can effectively request permission to keep a pet at the property, and that request cannot be unreasonably withheld. What isn't and is reasonable will depend on the circumstances, and those circumstances will depend on the property type, so if it's detached, semi-detached, high-rise flats, whatever it may be in the country, and then also the size, the type of animal they're requesting to have. So if people are expecting to have multiple animals in a very small high-rise one-bedroom flat, then you'd probably say that isn't unreasonable to withhold that consent. The other ones which I think will be most prominent will be sort of any head lease. So if your head lease provides that no pets, that isn't unreasonable to withhold that consent for that. The other one that I think I've heard of a lot of questions about is in relation to other tenants in a building that may have allergies. So if there's other people you know of, if it's a HMO for example, who are in the property who have severe allergies to certain pets, it's not unreasonable to withhold the consent for that pet. But that's why I think it's important to understand when that request for the consent comes in, you're able to understand what animals and what the environment is, flats, houses, etc. So yes, you cannot unreasonably withhold that consent. And I think from my point of view, what people need to do is, rather than think, why shouldn't I allow them, is the starting point is they should. And it's a reason why not. So it's about sort of backwards thinking in terms of not the unreasonable why can't we, it's we will unless. So it's almost changing that mentality on that.
So it is subjective, but yeah, from landlord's point of view, if they've got what is considered to be a house with a garden and it's perfectly adequate for pets, ultimately that's something tenants will be allowed.
Yeah.
And will tenants be able to appeal if the landlord refuses it?
Yeah, they can, and that's why I think it needs to have some good reasoning behind why you're not allowing it. Those requests, obviously, my advice to landlords I act for is they have a fully managed service now, and those requests ultimately, if you're the managing agent, which will be yourself, will be coming to you. So you would be looking in the realm and then advising your landlords on, in this situation, is it unreasonable? We don't think so, or we think it is because of this. And I think we need to be very objective about what we're trying to achieve. Is it unreasonable? If it's not, there's no point trying to find reasons to not, because then the tenants will simply just appeal against that decision, and then it elongates the process even more. And there's some fines and bits and pieces which you just don't want to fall foul of for the sake of that either.
Yeah, so there's an element of having to accept the new rules unless it's unreasonable. And,
100%.
And going back to what we said earlier, having a good managing agent is probably the key to make sure that you're fielding this and we're making sure that
Makes
the right people.
the process for landlord a lot more seamless as well. So obviously you would get the request in yourselves, you would deal with what it is, animals, houses, the properties well, and then you'll be able to advise your landlord, in your experience, what you think. Is it yes, is it a no, and the reasons why.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.